broke.
That was a chainsaw, right? Halloween was yesterday, Trent.
Nope. Welcome to the Rachel Ferrell Show, where we talk about real estate, real marketing, and real life. I'm your host, Rachel Ferrell. All right. It is a great day made even better by my friend, Mr. Bryan Nale. I'm so excited to be in Murfreesboro in the studio with you sitting across from me today. Yes. Live action.
Live.
Right.
Wait, this is live?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, everyone.
Congratulations. You are on a live show today. Mr. Nale, how are you doing today? What's going on in your world?
Man, what a great day. Today we got to, and Trent and I were at a grand opening ribbon cutting with the Chamber of Commerce for a great organization here in Murfreesboro. It's called Liberty's Station, and it is a coffee shop restaurant that it's 90% of the employees have intellectual disabilities. And so they train them to be able to go out and get other jobs. So it's a place with somebody can come in and be hired, learn a skill, take that out into the world and prosper. And then that creates just an influx or a pipeline flow of people to be able to go out and work in the community.
That's amazing.
It's fantastic. I have an aunt who was born with Down syndrome.
Okay.
And so anytime I get to see an organization like this, prosper and do good things for the community, it's really cool. So that was a good day.
I love that. I ended up coming to Murfreesboro today to do some training with Premise Bank. So Premise is the in-house lender of choice for Keller Williams, our Murfreesboro office. And they said, hey, we've got a lunch and learn today. We're talking about rates, where they've been, why they've been there, where they're going, and why they're going there. And I felt like it was something really important for me to come and really sit and listen to. Rates have been all over the place, I feel like, for the past 3 years.
I probably should have gone to that.
You probably should have. Well, your people were there. Maybe I should have them here instead of you.
Maybe
just had them come here.
For those listening, I was at Rotary because this weekend is Cooking to Build.
Service above self over here.
And Cooking to Build, another little plug for a community event, is this Saturday. And it's going to be an awesome experience. There's going to be, I think, 30 or 40 teams cooking soups and chilies and stews. So you pay $30. You come through, you get a bowl. It's a souvenir bowl. You can go around and you can taste all these different soups and stews, and then vote on your favorite.
Very nice. I love a good taste test.
Yeah,
that's why I go to Costco.
This is like Costco on steroids.
On steroids.
And since I'm leading and Brett and I are kind of tag teaming it. Brett's another Keller Williams agent. We're working on this together. So, but he couldn't be at Rotary today, so I had to be up there to talk about it and tell hey, come please volunteer. We need you to help cook it. We need you to help serve it. And it was my role today, so I had to be at Rotary.
I love it. Our Rotary is on Fridays, and it was funny because we had some question about whether or not we were going to stay at the location we were. And one person was like, well, if we're going to question location, let's question the time and date too. And we were all like, whoa. We're changing nothing now. So we're staying where we are.
It might have been that person's intent all along.
Maybe that's what it was. Rotary's great. I have loved being a part of Rotary over the past, I guess it's been 18 months now. I'm slated. I don't even want to talk about that part, but I think Rotary's been so interesting to get involved in what is like really happening deep in the community. I feel like the movers and shakers sit in that room and being able to listen to their stories, specifically in Tullahoma. I mean, there's just a lot of history that sits in that room, which is really neat.
It's a great organization.
Hopefully my kids will do it. I like hearing the stories of, like, I'm a 4th generation Rotarian.
That's cool.
Like, man,
that's
I'm
really
just
neat.
First. So
same here.
Anyway, okay. So Premise came and they spoke today on rates. And I feel like this show, we're going to talk primarily about what's happening on the market with rates, how that affects people. I made a reel yesterday about rates being the problem.
That was funny.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me for all my T-Swift lovers out there. Rates really do feel like they're the problem. We had rates so low back in 2020 that we were driving our home prices up. And now, we went from 2.5%, 2.7, 3.25 on a good day. Let's say,
call it that.
Let's say 3.25.
You said it, not me.
Absolutely. Not you. You didn't say it, but up to like the 7s. That's a big jump in a very short period of time. And I think it's given everybody whiplash. Find a chiropractor.
That's well said. The only thing that I'd say is, are rates really a problem? And maybe it's a paradigm shift in thinking, but we all wanted to return to normal markets, and the rates doing what they've done has kind of brought some balance to the force. It's kind of like, if anybody's a Star Wars fan, Anakin Skywalker brought balance to the Force. It wasn't what you thought it was going to be, because he went to the dark side for a little while first.
Yeah.
So maybe rates
I said,
like,
yeah, like I knew. Yes.
Maybe rates are like Darth Vader. I don't know.
I'm going to go IMDb this.
Oh, come on. You know Star Wars,
I
right?
mean, no.
All right. Well, maybe it's what's happened is rates have probably cooled the market off a little bit from a standpoint of how long it takes a house to be moved. And that means that somebody who's a home buyer, they're going to pay a higher rate. And that's unfortunate. But if that means that they're not paying $50,000 over the list price, if they have an opportunity to have an offer accepted that's an FHA offer, because that's the right product for them, those are some healthy things.
Absolutely.
So
I think the expectation specifically of first-time home buyers who entered the market in that 2020 year is that rates should be in the threes.
Yeah.
Like that was such a nice time. I mean, I think there was a stat that showed the absolute best time to buy was January of this year. Really? Of 2022. But you think back into 2020 when prices were much lower than what they are, like significantly lower than what they are today. And getting into those initial, like, the rates are really low. This is a great time to buy right now. I mean, that beginning frenzy of rates being low. And now you turn around and I think everybody is just like a deer in the headlights. You have buyers who are trying to understand why their affordability has changed so much. You have sellers who are standing there like, I thought we were going to push the market. Why am I not getting 10, 20% more than what my home's actually worth? Yeah. Where did it go? What happened?
And somebody I heard this a week or two ago. It's like buyers are, looking towards the future, and sellers are looking towards the past. And we have to kind of figure out where this is going to go, and we get there through negotiation and patience and a lot of consultations and just good advice. Yeah. I'd say this: if rates were to drop next year, and they start to come down, I would rather have probably bought now, when I had the opportunity to go out there and look at 3 or 4 houses, maybe 7 or 8 houses, and decide which one I wanted to buy. Then go back into the kind of market where, hey, this one hit the MLS. If we don't have an offer in 2 hours, we don't have a chance. So there's pros to this market that we're in right now.
That's very interesting.
I think we need to we need to be comfortable saying that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So speaking of those pros, say for instance, our rates do drop at the beginning of next year.
Sure.
Somebody bought right now, they're buying at 7-ish%. I said it, not you. Yeah. What does that look like moving forward? Are you disappointed next year if rates somehow end up in the 5s in May?
So probably not, because if rates in May are in the 5s and I've bought in the 7s, I'm probably going to go ahead and refinance my house.
When would be the best time for somebody to choose to refinance? What is the rule of thumb to say, hey, this seems like a good time?
So a really good question. So there used to be the old adage that if you can save 1%, it's worth the refinance. But given the markets now, given the availability of buying a house with lower down payments and the way that PMI can be introduced into the equation, anytime you're going to be able to save probably 0.5% to 3/4, it's worth having a conversation with a lender that you trust.
Gotcha.
Because if you don't want to have that conversation with a used car salesman type lender, but a lender that will say, hey, yeah, if you do this refinance, this is what it's going to do for you. And if it means that your home is appreciated in value some, and you can drop the PMI or maybe lower the PMI, or you can get out of an FHA loan because your credit's improved and you're going to be able to go into a loan that's going to be conventional. It could be some advantages even if you're only saving 0.5%. So what you want to do is save money, right? Rocket science.
Always.
You want to save money, but you don't want to do it too soon, because you don't want to miss out on too much downside if the rates continue to fall, but you don't want to wait too long and miss that window. And during the last refi boom, there were people that refinanced their house 2, maybe even 3 times. Yeah. So when you're doing that, you just want to be aware of what's happening. Because every time you refinance, you're restarting your amortization schedule. You're probably rolling in closing costs instead of paying those out of pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're doing that, you're adding to your principal balance and starting your amortization over. So you want to make sure that you're doing it the right way. And a big thing would be too, to look at your term. Are you able to move it to a 20 or a 15-year term? And if you can do that and refinance, drop PMI, you can really put yourself in a better situation. That's
so interesting to think about too. If you bought at a 7% and now you can get, 4.75, 5%, whatever. And you can come out and like it's a wash. Yeah, if you went to a 15-year mortgage,
your payment might stay the same, but because you're saved on interest rate and dropped PMI, you could go to a 15-year mortgage, keep the same payment. And then if you're in your, and your stage in life is going to dictate if you want to do this or not, because if you're staring down the barrel of retirement, you're going to be on a fixed income. Your quality of life in a low payment might be most important to you. But if you're in your 40s or maybe you're in your late 30s and you're looking up, you're like, man, golly, in 15 years, my kids are going to be in college or out of college. I could have my house paid off. And I mean, that could be fantastic.
Absolutely.
So everybody's going to come at those opportunities from a different position. So there's no straight cut answer. It's like anything else. It's going to depend on your goals and your circumstances.
Okay. So we've imagined the person who's buying now at a higher rate that has the potential of refinancing at a lower rate. What was the average? It was like 5.7, or was it 7.7? It was 7.7 was the average over the recorded history of rates. So we're still under that recorded average. The question is, do I wait for another 3.5% rate to refi? If you go in, if rates were at 5 today, I mean, is it realistic for rates to drop down into the 2s like they did in 2020? Is that healthy?
I don't think I can answer that question. I don't think it's healthy. It can be beneficial and amazingly beneficial for individuals who are able to take advantage of that. But I don't think it's healthy, and it leads to where we're at right now with some inflation and concerns in the economy, broader concerns. So, I mean, if you're able to save 2 points and go from the 7s into the 5s, I don't know how you wait for it to get any better without running the risk of missing your window.
Absolutely. So from my experience this year, as we were entering the 5%, I felt people getting concerned and saying, well, we're in 5%. If we need to refi down later on, then we can. And that's when this phrase, date the rate, marry the house, came from. And Bryan and I have talked about this a lot. I am so skeptical of that phrase. If somebody's using that phrase with you, then you really need to deep dive whether or not they're interested in your personal financial situation, because a 7% rate for you, it might be feasible, but it might not be smart. It might just not be smart at a certain price point. And I struggle with that a little bit, because what if rates don't come down? What if you're banking on rates going back down into the 3s or 4s and they never do it? Then where was that advice? Where did that leave you?
Well, and I think there's some people who get caught up in, hey, posting a meme or doing something. I've seen
buy the house.
I've seen some really good realtors that I have a lot of respect for that have used that, and some good lenders that I have a lot of respect for use it too. Because I mean, hey, there's some really great. I'm not the only guy in town. There's some really good lenders in our community. We're blessed in that way, and I think we just kind of all, I don't know. We just got to think about the consequences, right? Think about down the road. So as we were on our way up, to the 7s where we are now, if you saw that meme and you heard somebody say it and you thought, you know what, they're right. Hey, I'm buying at 5, but maybe next year I can refi back in the 4s. Well, then we rose to the 7s. Don't know where we're going to go now. So when rates do eventually come down, and we believe that they will, right? And everything kind of goes up and down. They may not go back down to the 4s. Maybe we're at the peak now, and when rates drop, they're going to drop into the 5s. And if you bought in the summer in the 5s, you're not going to have that window to refinance. So that plan that you had of marrying the house and dating the rate, you might have dated that rate and got stuck with it. So, I'm going to leave that there.
You're locked in. Yeah. Woo. Okay. It's so many so many things that could go with that one. But, okay. So say somebody purchased at let's say they purchased at a 3.75, and they're looking at it and they can, PMI can drop at that point. They've paid down enough, but there's not really an opportunity for them to refi at that rate. What are some options for them to lower their payment?
So there's a couple of things that somebody can do. One, you can contact, if you have a conventional conforming loan, then you can contact the servicer and you can request a new appraisal on your home to have the PMI removed. You have to pay for the appraisal. They'll have to go through the process of approving it. And then once that's been done, they do the appraisal. And if you're under certain, I think it's going to be 78 or 80% loan to value, they're going to drop the PMI.
Gotcha.
Another thing that you can do is you can do a mortgage recast. So let's say you bought a house in the 5s, had planned on marrying the house to the rate. You're never going to be able to, or you're not going to, there's no foreseeable future where you're going to be able to, but you have an inheritance or a large bonus at work, or like you're playing Monopoly and you get that, you land on chance and something good happens.
Yeah, absolutely. You win the lottery.
You've got,
but not enough to pay your house totally off.
But you've got some cash now. You got some money.
Right.
You can do a mortgage recast, and that's where you contact the servicer, and you make a large one-time principal payment, and that large one-time principal payment's going to re-amortize the loan balance. So your interest rate's going to stay the same, and you're going to get the benefit of the lower payment because you've re-amortized.
I love that. It's going to be interesting as time goes on, people who bought with such low rates, if they choose to move in the same cycle that they have in the past, or if they married that rate.
They married that house and the rate. They got the best of both worlds. And that's something that that I think a lot about. But I think a lot about how, golly, my wife and I, we're home. And sometimes I'll catch her looking at houses. And if you're watching, Erica, don't look at houses.
Stop looking at houses.
We're like a lot of people. If you bought a house or you refinanced in the last 2.5 years and you're in the 3s, you're in the 2s, maybe you're in the low 4s, whatever you're at, you're looking up and you're like, golly, maybe we've outgrown this house. Maybe we've got another kid, or our kid's a little bit bigger and they don't need to share a bedroom anymore, but we can give up the guest bedroom a lot easier than we can take on a higher payment.
Yeah.
On a bigger house at a higher rate. And then, when the grandparents come to visit, kids can bunk up. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's so interesting. The way that people are going to have to, it's like, what are you going to reimagine in order to make all of the numbers work? And I've always preached, move down the interstate. It's just, there's so many other ways to do that too, besides just, come down to Southern Middle Tennessee. But I think that as rates do increase in home values, I do not see them just like tanking. Everybody's waiting for this big massive crash, and while we're adjusting, I don't foresee a massive crash. Where are they going to move? Where are you going to go to where it's affordable?
Right. And to that point, that family that bought her house or refinanced in the last 2.5 years, and they've got that really low interest rate. They got a lot of equity in their home. Say something bad happens and one of them loses their job and they can't afford the payment anymore, they're going to do everything they can to keep that house, right?
Absolutely.
You're going to it's not like you're upside down on that house like you were in 2008.
Yeah.
So if you've exhausted all resources and you can't make the payment, put a sign on the yard, sell the house.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a foreclosure. You're going to sell it and you're going to walk away with some equity.
Then you can reinvest it in Southern Middle Tennessee.
You can hang on to it until the job situation's worked itself out.
Absolutely. And I've loved that idea too. Just even over the winter this year, somebody, could sell during the summer. They're holding on to the equity. They're waiting for that moment to buy what they want at the right price at the right time. And there's no shame in renting.
Well, and so you just gave me an idea that I think is worth mentioning on this, or you reminded me of an idea. If you've got equity in your house, now's a good time to talk about getting a HELOC.
Yeah.
Now's a really, really good time to talk about getting a HELOC. And I go back to 2009 or 10. My wife and I, we got a HELOC, and that made us, we knew we would want to buy a house. We didn't know where we wanted it. We didn't know exactly what we wanted, but we knew that we were going to move up. And we wanted to put ourselves in position because just like any market, it's tricky to navigate a sell home contingency. Whether in the past you couldn't get it accepted the last couple of years, but now you may be able to. but it's still tricky. It's still hard to pull off. And so if now's a good time basically to get a HELOC. And that could be to help you navigate your next home purchase. It could be to consolidate other debt. It could be to, have some money set for college, whatever reasons may come along. House values are still high right now. We haven't seen them come down a whole lot. So you still got max equity. Great time to go ahead and open that line of credit up. Doesn't cost you. You may have an annual fee depending on which lender you choose. But other than that annual fee, it doesn't cost you a whole lot. And I've always thought of a HELOC as kind of almost like an insurance policy for cash flow emergencies.
I love it. That's so interesting. I like the idea of using a HELOC rather than I think bridge loans can get a little complicated. And I've noticed where some people will choose a HELOC over a bridge loan in order to get into the next house. Okay. So rates, I would like to talk about the difference between the average rate of the past and a hypothetical rate of today and how much that actually changes your monthly payment. So a big thing I like to preach online is, what is your monthly payment made up of? When somebody goes in to buy, I think they hyperfixate on the price of the home and they don't realize that all of the other pieces make up what you're paying for from month to month. You've got your principal, your interest, your taxes, and then your insurance, and sometimes MPI or PMI, whichever you end up using, whatever loan type you get. But the principal, that is your purchase price. And then the interest, that's what the big hot topic has been. So hypothetically speaking, 2 years ago or a year ago, if we were at a 3.25% rate on a, what did we say, $300,000 home?
Yeah.
What would the principal and interest payment be?
Cheat sheet.
A cheat sheet. Wanted to make sure my numbers that I was saying out loud matched the cheat sheet.
Rachel, I'll take $1,300.
$1,505 for how much? I'm just kidding.
So it's anybody with a simple mortgage calculator that you can download in any app store. You just plug in the loan amount, the interest rate. You're at 3.25% on the $300,000 mortgage. The principal and interest payment's $1,305.
Awesome. So same house, say it's surprisingly the same price today,
yeah.
$300,000. Now we're looking at a 7% interest rate. What is that payment? Principal and interest only.
$1,995.
Oh my gosh, that's a difference of $500. Is my math wrong?
Yeah,
it is. What is it?
It's $695 or $690.
My math was really wrong. I'm so good at math. This is live. I'd have been like, cut it, Trent.
Can't say that now.
Can't do it. Yeah. Okay. So that is a huge difference. I mean, I feel like we preached so hard back a year ago to say it's affordable. It's affordable. Here's how you do it. So making it affordable now. Yeah. We've got, potentially a 7% interest. You and I talked about this on the phone the other day. There are some ways to reduce the interest rate if you're not planning to risk a refi in the future. So if you're planning on staying in your home, like this is what I want to do. Some ways that you can reduce that interest rate would be just buying it down.
Yeah. So I would just tell somebody that in a market like this, when you've seen such a rapid increase in rates, there's going to be people there's going to be answers to the problem, right? There's going to be heartburn. You're going to have salespeople who come up with roll aids for it. Mm-hmm. And so there's all kinds of different things that are out there. There's 2-1 buy downs, which is where a seller will basically, I think I can say this and not run afoul of anything, but the 2-1 buy down is in essence, the seller is subsidizing a portion of your interest for the first couple of years that you're in there. So you can negotiate that. You can negotiate the seller to pay some points for a permanent buy down, and depending on your situation and what you think the market's going to do and what you think your income is going to do over the next couple of years, it can really guide you to the right answer for your family.
Gotcha.
So that's where you really you want to talk with someone who's going to, be knowledgeable of all these different options and has the ability and the product set to be able to offer them. But then, also just guide you to the right solution for you guys, because it goes back to the marry the house, stay the right thing. We can have really good people who get caught up in things. And, at the end of the day, we've got to listen to our clients.
Yeah.
We have to listen to what they want, what they think is going to happen, and then give them options and help them answer questions about those. And then ultimately let them decide what they want to do.
It's just not quite as sexy on a meme to say, don't be scared of the rate. Call somebody who's going to work through your financial situation with you. Date the rate, marry the house. Makes so much more sense on a meme. Just doesn't rhyme.
Yeah, no doubt.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so there's some other interesting things that Premise does. So you just made a swap over to Premise. I'm super excited for you. I've already really enjoyed some of the different products and things that you've been able to share with me and my clients. So what are some of the major differences? What are some of the, well, let's do this. What are some of the couple really positive points about Premise that you can share with people? Like, this is why Premise was a good choice, and this is why Bryan's a better choice.
So, I mean, just thinking about Premise and the mission statement, the culture of the company, to just be obsessed with delivering a great customer experience. Yeah. And that at the end of the day, it all just kind of comes back to that. So what does that mean? It means loan officers that are responsive, loan officers that work hard, processors, assistants, everybody on the team with the same objective, and making sure that the closing goes smoothly as scheduled. So that's, first and foremost, one of the main things that I wanted to align myself with was the company with that kind of culture. And we have that. And it's really, really good. But to do that, to those ends, to meet those ends, we've got great product sets. So we've got some great options for non-qualifying money, which means like a bank statement loan for self-employed folks. We've got DSCR loans for investors, debt service cash ratio, what DSCR stands for.
Thank you. Could you see it in my face? The glaze.
I could see it in the camera. So debt service cash ratio, basically if somebody's buying an investment property, does that property cash flow? Mm-hmm. Look at how much rent it's going to generate. And if it cash flows, makes sense.
Awesome.
Let's do it. Now, any of these non-qualifying programs, if they can go conventional, it's going to be better for them to do that. You're going to pay for, you're going to pay in a higher interest rate for the higher risk that the bank's taking by doing a bank statement loan or a debt service cash ratio loan. But if it is a way for you to get into the game, then great.
Yeah, I love it. Well, and I think people are still looking for those 100% options.
Yeah.
How can I get into a home without actually paying any money to get into the home? And USDA does that.
USDA, and zero down.
I think that's another big benefit of moving. I'm not trying to shamelessly plug. I am shamelessly plugging Coffee County, but I mean, most all of Coffee County is USDA eligible.
Right.
And so, I mean, looking at first-time home buyers and seeing that, Murfreesboro might not be the most affordable market for them. Maybe they need to either rent for a little bit until they're in a better financial position, or knowing that it's going to be a couple of years, purchase somewhere that you can afford, knowing that the value is going to increase, and then move back in with some equity. USDA 100% financing, you can do that easy in Manchester, Tullahoma, and surrounding areas. And I love that y'all are offering that. THDA, you've got THDA.
I was going to say THDA is back, right? Like, and this is what this market has brought to bear for home buyers. So yeah, maybe your rate's higher than it was a year ago, this time last year, or even at the start of this year. But if you have a better chance of buying a house, or you can choose the product that actually is the best for you, and that could be a THDA or, a rural development or VA.
How nice is this?
If you've got a listing, you've got 2 or 3 offers in front of you instead of 20, you're going to have, less if you're a seller to choose from. So as a buyer, that puts you in a better position, right?
Yeah. I mean, there was a time where I remember like laying out, here are the offers. These 5 are conventional. These 5 are, government loans. Yeah. And it was always so sad when they were like, okay, let's just focus in on these. And so we'd focus in on the conventional loans. And it was like the less contingencies, the better it was, or the more likely it was that they were going to have the offer accepted. And I do remember, I feel like some of my sellers needed therapy at the end of that, because, you look at these buyers and they're beautiful, wonderful people and families that want to be homeowners. And it was just not the right time. Right. And now it can be their time. Yeah. And that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Well, I love that the reason why you chose to Premise was because of culture.
Oh, absolutely.
That was a big deal. Yeah. I remember, I will say this every single episode that we are ever on together, that the first time I really remembered Bryan Nale's name was when he called me on a Saturday morning, and it was really freaking cold, and I actually had COVID. I don't think I've ever said that before.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know that I had COVID. It was the very first time I'd had it, and I got pulled over by a cop that same day. And
you didn't give COVID to the police officer.
Well, that's what he gets for pulling me over, man. I'm just kidding. I hope you're good. Anyway, Bryan calls me and he said, I hate that this is live. Bryan calls me and he says, hey, I just wanted to let you know that I'm working today. And if you have anybody that needs to be pre-qualified, I'm here. I'm ready. You just send them my way and I'll make it happen. And I was like, what? Yeah. Are you serious? Like, you're there? You can do that? I don't know. It was a big deal for me. I remember always reading online Realtor Reddit or whatever it is. You want to work with a lender that's going to be available after hours because that's when your clients need them.
That's when they're available.
Absolutely. And Bryan was the first one that made it very, very abundantly clear to me. I am here and I am ready. And you tell me when and we'll make it happen. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Well, this was a blast.
Fun times.
Absolutely. Let's do it again sometime.
I'd love to.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have enjoyed this talk about rates and all of the things. And now I'm just going to awkwardly try and wrap up this live show. Have a great, what's today? Tuesday. Have a great Tuesday.